Good morning, everybody. My name is Beatriz Garcia Nice, Associate with the Latin America Program here at the Wilson Center. I am thrilled to join our experts today to discuss the current situation in Haiti. During his first official visit to the Caribbean last week, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the situation in Haiti as a multifaceted challenge. He is not wrong. Haiti is grappling with a crisis on multiple fronts: political instability, rampant gang violence, and a deteriorating humanitarian situation. The assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in July 2021 plunged the nation into turmoil, leaving a power vacuum that to this day has not been effectively filled. As a result, armed gangs have expanded their influence, controlling significant portions of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and leading to widespread violence, including kidnapping and massacres. With essential services severely disrupted, nearly half of all Haitians, over 5 million people, face acute food insecurity as a result of violence. The international community recognized the importance of contributing to a peaceful solution for Haitians. In 2023, the United Nations Security Council authorized the Multinational Security Support Mission led by Kenyan forces to face the country's multidimensional crisis. From its inception, the UN Secretary General encouraged the international community to come to Haiti's aid. In February of this year, among other countries, El Salvador contributed personnel with expertise in air support operations, crucial for medical and casualty evacuations. Unfortunately, the mission remains gravely underfunded and under-equipped. In April 2024, a Transitional Presidential Council, backed by the Caribbean community countries known as CARICOM, was created to re-establish democratic order and govern until February 2026 with the main goal of organizing elections. Despite these initiatives, the situation continues to be dire. In 2024 alone, close to 6,000 individuals were killed due to gang-related violence. Haiti's instability directly impacts U.S. national security and regional stability. If unchecked, Haiti could provide a foothold for international criminal organizations, making it harder for the U.S. to manage security threats such as patrolling key shipping routes, to name just one example. In addition, the U.S. has a strong interest in preventing a large-scale migration crisis. Political instability and economic collapse have already forced thousands of Haitians to flee, with many attempting dangerous journeys by sea or overland through Latin America to reach the United States border. A failure to stabilize Haiti could lead to an even greater exodus, putting pressure on U.S. immigration system and straining resources for border security. The U.S. has contributed over $13 million to Kenyan-led forces to fight armed gangs. However, recent cuts to U.S. foreign aid have affected the securities mission's capacity to expand. While there have been positive developments, such as the completion of the Provisional Electoral Council to hold elections and regain control of certain key areas by the Haitian National Police of the city Port-au-Prince, systematic violence continues to pose an existential threat to the state. To discuss the future of Haiti today, we are joined by a stellar panel of experts. Jana Nelson, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Western Hemisphere for the U.S. Department of Defense, and esteemed member of our Latin America Programs Advisory Board. Emanuela Duyon, founder of the Haitian think tank Policité and civil society leader. Dr. Vivian Lowery-Derrick, President and CEO of the Bridges Institute, former Assistant Administrator for Africa at USAID, and also an esteemed member of our Africa Programs Advisory Board. And Griselda Lopez, El Salvador's ambassador to the United Nations. Moderating this conversation is Ms. Jacqueline Charles, journalist for the Miami Herald and Haiti expert. Jacqueline, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who is joining us today. We are at a very critical juncture in Haiti. We've gone from, territories that have been no man lands or lost territories to, in the words of the editor of the New Release today, to a capital abandoned and, as I've written in the last couple of weeks, on the verge of collapse. I want to start this conversation with Ms. Nelson. Beatrice talked a little bit about the intersection of the U.S. and Haiti, but just wondering if you can elaborate a little bit more in terms of what is the importance of Haiti to the United States beyond the fact that it's 2 hours away. Why should the U.S. care about what happens in Haiti?
Well, Haiti is a linchpin of regional security. It is a country that obviously for historical reasons and because of the deep cultural and personal ties in New York and in Florida, the U.S. cares a lot about. But looking at it from a big picture, if Haiti collapses, it will most likely take the Dominican Republic, the seventh largest economy in the region, with it. By region, I mean all of Latin America, the Caribbean, not just the Caribbean. If that happens, then it would not be unfathomable to see other countries in the Caribbean, like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, who are already struggling with a rise in insecurity caused to a certain extent by the passageway of these criminal organizations that have established themselves in Haiti. They would also struggle with maintaining stability. It would create a domino effect in the region. And most people look at it from a migration standpoint, and yes, that's concerning. But it is more than that. It is maintaining stability in Haiti. It means that we would be able to maintain stability in the Caribbean and stability in the Americas in general.
Thank you. And we'll come back to some of those themes. Mr. Young, Haitians have very conflicting feelings about the U.S. and the role of the U.S. in this crisis. In fact, the role of any international, and just, over a year ago, we had individuals in Haiti going as far as Kenya to say, no, 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 we can take care of this ourselves. And today we're seeing the opposite. But from your perspective, what is the U.S.'s role in this current crisis in Haiti?
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Charles. And this is such a great question, something I've been thinking about a lot, because if you pay attention to Haiti-US relationship, Haitian perception of foreign aid, international cooperation, it's a very sensitive topic. It's very complicated. There is a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, and some research, some analysis that makes sense too, but it remains very controversial and sensitive. And it makes sense because of the long and complicated history of Haiti. When Haiti has been colonized, there was slavery in Haiti, there was a revolution, we had to pay a ransom for this independence. So there is a lot, so many things happen that make it very sensitive and very complicated. And we cannot try to make sense to understand and what is how relationships will be between Haiti and other countries, international cooperation, without acknowledging that it's not like as simple, and there is a lot in the background, all those historical events. And when it comes to the US, it's the same thing. There has been like years of occupation. There's been a lot of aid too. The US remained the largest donors to Haiti. So many like vital programs in Haiti depend on US foreign aid. So there is the good, there is the bad, and there is how people feel about it. There is the failure of some initiative too. But the thing is that we like, I think Mrs. Nelson mentioned it. We are like just 2 hours from the US. There are so many Haitians in the US, a large community of Haitian, a growing community of Haitian American. And as neighbors, we need to work together. And it makes sense for both countries to have a solid relationship. And I think that the US has a lot they can do to support Haiti in this time. We have the question of gun flowing from the US to Haiti. We have the Haitian migrant crisis. so many people who fled Haiti and were now in the US and depend on temporary protection. Now we are talking about deportation. Is it the right thing to do? Is it one way to help Haiti? Is it making it worse? There are studies about how deportation contribute to gun violence in other countries in the region, like El Salvador at some point. And years ago, I think back to 2004, there was this issue of some deportees being involved in gangs. And it's time to know, okay, who are we sending back? Have they been in Haiti? Like, were they involved here in the US? Like, there is this idea of like criminal coming from Haiti, which is not really like proven, but there is also the issue of people who've been here in the US who've kind of like learn other thing in the US that are not that the type of skills we will expect to be useful for the country. There are so many things at stake. There is the question of aiding. So many nonprofits who used to rely on funding from like US aid, for example. Although I personally have like a lot of like criticism on how foreign aid is implemented in Haiti, the idea was never to have it cut off altogether, but to like find a way to make it work better. So many things, and we're living next to the richest country in the world. So of course there is so much the US could do. And I'm always on the side of cooperation, one that respect people's dignity, of course, but we definitely need to work together with the US to find a solution to the current crisis in Haiti.
Thank you. Ambassador Lopez, the United States today provides the lion's share of this Kenyan-led multinational support mission, over $600 million, absent of the $15 million freeze that was done with the UN funding. But a large part of the conversation around the MSS was the need for Haiti's neighbors to be involved. And today there really is only three Latin American countries: the Dominican Republic, which was allowing casualties to come in and had received a number of injured police officers from Kenya, and then El Salvador, and of course Guatemala. Can you talk about what is the role of El Salvador in the MSS and why? I remember writing a story initially. Well, El Salvador was like, no, we can send some people down and maybe do an assessment, but we're not going to get involved. But why the change in El Salvador's position?
Well, thank you so much. Good morning. I would like also to begin by thanking the Wilson Center for the kind invitation. And also it's an honor to be discussing a very important issue of El Salvador, that it's Haiti. And great pleasure to share also the opportunity with the other panelists. Jacqueline, thank you for the question. Let me also stress that maybe stating the obvious, as the other speakers have also said, that Haiti faces one of the most complex crises in the recent history. And for El Salvador, the situation in Haiti is not only a regional concern, it is a test of our shared responsibility, solidarity, and also the effectiveness of the international cooperation. And for El Salvador, addressing the crisis in Haiti must begin with a clear understanding. What is happening there is not isolated. It affects our whole region, and as such, it demands precisely that regional leadership and collective responsibility. We have seen how crucial it has been CARICOM's leadership, and also that regional solidarity. Let me be clear, it's not charity. It's this responsibility to understand that Haiti is in need and that we must act collectively. In that sense, now that we're talking about the regional, because I would like to go from regional and also go into your question about El Salvador and maybe exploring a little bit on the UN. The role that provide other countries in the Americas, such as the US and Canada, to the MSS has also crucial. And we have seen how this commitment is also very strong with the recent visit of the Secretary Marco Rubio to Dominican Republic and also to Jamaica. But we have seen also how the Organization of American States is also addressing the situation in Haiti, and they have called for an urgency of the crisis and the need for this more coordinated action. Well, also in El Salvador, we have also been suffering from gangs, terrorism, and all these terrible situation that was keeping kidnapped El Salvador's. And in that sense, the commitment from the President Nayib Bukele to help Haiti has been very clear. We have seen that we have some technical capabilities to help Haiti in these special moments. And definitely, this is one of the things that we have been committed ourselves. When one neighbor is calling for help, we must answer. And we have seen also how this call for help was directly from the Haitian government. We formalized our interest in supporting the MSS in August last year. And since then, we have been committed with the Haitian authorities, trying to understand how we better can help Haiti in these moments. And since then, we have deployed 78-member contingents focused on medevac, or its aerial medical evacuation. Let me be clear, Jacqueline, this is a modest but vital contribution, especially in a moment where access to healthcare is scarce and violence makes movements nearly impossible. And this is one way of the few that definitely we can help Haiti in these moments. Again, this is commitment coming from the highest leadership of the country, and also it reflects the firm conviction of El Salvador that peace and security in the Americas must be built collectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jarrett, so, I followed the UN debate very closely before Kenya even volunteered to lead this mission. And they were always insistent that Africa needed to play more of a role in this Haitian crisis, and felt that Africa actually had something to contribute. Given where we are now, with the current the various crises that are happening there, does Haiti still hold that importance, for some of these African nations? And if you can just elaborate on this Kenyan-Haiti relationship, how you view it.
Certainly, and thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank the Wilson Center for doing this and including me, because so often Haiti is just relegated to the sidelines. So from an African perspective, I think that we can relate this back to the diaspora. And the African diaspora is growing in importance both in terms of African leaders thinking, and certainly in terms of the Caribbean, because we've seen the Prime Minister of Barbados meet with the former president of Liberia, the two women, and talking about the importance of the diaspora. And President Ruto, after he accepted to do this, talked about the fact that Kenya was doing this because Haiti was the first Black republic, and the relationship between the growing relationship between Haiti and Africa. And this is the second decade for people of African descent. So that's another reason for Africa and Kenyans to be involved in this. In fact, at a meeting to discuss, a UN meeting to discuss the outcomes of the UN decade for people of African descent, the African Union was present. The meeting was held in Cuba, but the African Union was present. Several African countries were present, all to talk about the importance of peoples of African descent helping each other. So this is a really strong, rich movement. Now, there was great opposition, of course, in Kenya because of Kenya's own political challenges. And through the courts, their deployment was really deferred for almost a year. But when they arrived, there was great enthusiasm. Clearly, their numbers are way too small to have major impact. They just can make a dent. But they are there. They've now sent a contingent of female experts in counterterrorism. That's something I think we'll come back to and talk about later. But that's important as well. So you have the Kenyans, you have the issue of women, you also have the issue of Africa taking this broader role within the UN, and you also have a human rights dimension to this as well. Someone mentioned that Haiti is 2 hours away from the richest country in the world, and the richest country in the world has eliminated TPS, temporary protective status, for Haitians starting in April and some in August. So there's that dimension to this as well. And Africans are acutely aware of this in the African Human Rights Commission. So the Africans are going to be there. Kenya's going to be there as long as there's any funding to do this, and hopefully might be joined by, has been joined by a small contingent from, I think it's Benin, but Africa is in this for the long haul.
Right, thank you. And I want to invite the audience to please send your questions on the chat, on our events website. So you all have brought up a couple of issues, and let me just tell you where we are, and we're going to continue this conversation. So we are post the visit of Secretary of State Marco Rubio. That yes, when he went to the Dominican Republic, a large part of that discussion in the press conference was about Haiti. He said that this contingent is not big enough. There's currently 1,000, most of them Kenyans. Benin has pulled out for the time being. There are 31 individuals from the Caribbean. Other Caribbean countries, such as Barbados, has said, you know what, we are better served giving some expertise, so we're not going to deploy anymore. We've been waiting for deployment from Jamaica, from the Bahamas, and even though the Jamaican Prime Minister said last month that they were going to deploy about 250, we saw it during this recent visit last week where he says the investment needs to be in the Haitian National Police. While I think everybody agrees with that in terms of a long term, what many people were hearing in that conversation is whether or not CARICOM is now going to be pulling back in terms of its commitment in terms of deploying bodies. The funding has been approved until September. So I want to start with Ms. Nelson. The Department of Defense was very instrumental in getting this force up and moving and building the base. If September comes and additional funding is not provided by the U.S., what does that mean in terms of the ability of Haiti to fight back these gangs?
Thank you, Jackie. If I may, I want to just make a few comments and reinforce the messages that my panelists have made before I answer your question, which I will get to very quickly. First, I agree that we must praise Kenya for all the work that they have been doing. It is impressive, especially after we've seen 2 deaths and injuries even as of this weekend. So their commitment to the diaspora, to the 6th region of the African Union, which Haiti is a part of, is impressive, is commendable. The reason Benin hasn't joined is really just an issue between military and police. It's very hard for the military, in this case, the Beninois military, to be placed under a police leadership. They would not normally agree to that. So it's just a matter really of bureaucratics and finding the right fit. It is an unusual mission from start to finish, as we all know. In terms of the numbers, it was never envisioned, just for general context, it was never envisioned as something that would be very large. 1,000 is still much less than was ever envisioned. But the goal here is to support the Haitian National Police, not to replace it, because we've seen what happens when there's an attempt to replace. And the Haitian National Police is always the tip of the spear with the MSS behind it, giving it some breather. And as the Haitian National Police is able to take certain critical infrastructure, the MSS can then maintain it. So that has always been the vision. Nevertheless, 1,000 is much lower than had ever been envisioned, so numbers are important. The main challenge for the numbers, and this is where I come to your question, is really funding, is ensuring that these people can be paid, because this is a process that is designed, or the MSS is designed as similar as possible to a peacekeeping mission, always with the view of being able to transition to a peacekeeping mission eventually. I would say that it is very unfortunate that the UN Secretary General has decided to wash his hands of Haiti. He is the only Secretary General that has only been once to Haiti, and the only reason he went to Haiti is because we asked him numerous times at the highest levels of government. It is the closest UN mission to New York, and we saw Ban Ki-moon, we saw Kofi Annan, we saw several other Secretary Generals go multiple times, even during non-peacekeeping moments. Guterres has resisted traveling and really getting to know such an important mission. We have also seen him time and time again refuse to put peacekeeping as an option for Haiti. He has, I'm sure, many reasons to do this, but we've asked numerous times and have shown him that this is the only way for it to continue. Because as you've said, the U.S. has given $600 million, and this is counting the support for the base. This is counting the money for the equipment. This is counting everything that we've been able to provide. Unfortunately, we are not, and regardless of what is happening as a domestic issue in the United States, even before that, the world was not in a situation that it could normally cover Haiti. The UN resolution for Haiti for the MSS was approved on October 2nd. That is 5 days before October 7th, the attack on Israel. That has meant that the majority of funds that were expected internationally to go to Haiti have been diverted, correctly so, I would say, to the Middle East. We've always known that there was going to be a humanitarian slump in terms of funds, especially after 3 years of the Ukraine war. So it is a very dire financial situation that the United States has been willing to carry for as long as it has. But there will come a point in which we need to focus on assessed contributions through the United Nations. And the Secretary General has refused to consider any of those options.
Thank you. Ambassador Lopez, so I'm going to bring you into this conversation because, yes, we've seen this proposal from the Secretary General, basically saying status quo, but with the UN playing more of a financial role, but still asking for countries to contribute. And what we've seen is that UN Trust Fund only had about 110 million, Canada being the largest contributor. We have not seen any money from countries in the Western Hemisphere, despite the modest, assistance that we were seeing. Where do we stand now? I mean, come September, when this mission is up for renewal, or even if the current Secretary of State Rubio, who has hinted at wanting more countries and to carry this load, do you see an appetite for that?
Thank you, Jacqueline. I guess building upon of what Janina was expressing, we have to remember something. This is not a traditional peacekeeping operation where the Security Council not has just approved the deployment, but also the funding. So in that sense, this is critical for us to understanding some of the challenges that the mission is facing itself. What the Security Council therefore asked the Secretary General is to have some options about what could be the way forward of this mission. And the final decision will be at the end from the members of the Security Council themselves. So this is important to understand the situation. So we have these two options. Definitely, we will have to see a strong leadership, not only from countries like the US, as you mentioned, but we have seen, and according to the Secretary General latest data, just confirming what you mentioned, the current voluntary contributions, again, this is voluntary contributions to the trust fund, is 110 million. And this is provided mostly by Canada, France, Italy, the Republic of Korea, Singapore, Spain, Turkey, and the United States. About the appetite, I guess that it will be crucial for us to follow what will be the discussions within the Security Council about these possible options. And definitely what Janina was saying is also important to understand that these discussions will not happen in a vacuum. There are many crises, unfortunately, evolving right now, not only here in our hemisphere, but in other areas, that definitely it's very difficult for the Security Council and also for the financings to cope with all this. I believe that the Haitian National Police will continue to lead, for instance, the security operations, obviously supported by the MSS. And we must acknowledge that the BINU also will require additional security enables, which will have direct implications for its budget. Definitely, El Salvador believes that to be effective, a comprehensive UN support package for the MSS will require significant investment from the peacekeeping budget, and this call for member states of the UN to step up, both financially, but also in-kind contributions. And finally, increased personal contributions will be necessary to achieve this full deployment and meet the MSS mandate. And without this, let me be clear, the mission risks being under-resourced at the time when its role is more critical than ever.
I'm going to go to Ms. Derrick, and then I'm going to come to you, Ms. Duyon, to talk about the MSS and the role in Haiti. But Ms. Derrick, we are looking at a situation where in this hemisphere, you can have gangland. I mean, today, gangs in the metropolitan Port-au-Prince area, they control 90%. That means that there's 10% that they don't currently control, but they have surrounded that 10%. Just this weekend, people were sending out SOSs. So, everybody's saying if the government collapsed, if the capital collapsed, what does that look like? From your experience in Africa, what does that mean if we have a situation where you have this gang takeover, and what is the security threat that does that pose?
Thank you for the question, because I guess we see situations like that in Africa more frequently than we would like. It's so important that that civil society is is involved in this, and that that they have a perspective on what something like that would look like. In terms of what's happened in Haiti before, remember when Baby Doc left and Colonel Namfi came in, I think probably you would find someone in the Haitian military to step up and then to work with the transitional government. And hopefully UN international forces would be present so that there could be some semblance of order. In Africa, in situations like this, it really is civil society that steps up and helps people organize at a local level. I mean, we look at what's happening now in Sudan, and people in communities are literally getting together and helping each other and trying to have some dialogue with the military. The same thing in Haiti. Again, local communities, individuals, local leaders working with the military to kind of restore order.
Thank you. Ms. Duyon, we hear constantly, we've heard Haitian-led solutions, that this should be Haitian-led. We just heard about, the experience of past peacekeeping mission and why it was important to have this particular setup where you have with the Haitian police and you have the MSS. What is your assessment in terms of how the MSS and the Haitian police have been working, and why is it today that we have seen more areas of the capital fall to gang control with the presence of international forces versus before?
Thank you. From what we can see from the outside and from the reaction on so many Haitians, this is a failure. We've seen contingent like Kenyan officers going to Haiti, people from other countries, and there has been a lot of hope from the side of many Haitians, skepticism from the other side. And the thing is that the gangs keep getting more powerful and they are gaining control, they are controlling access to even more territory. And obviously, the Transitional Presidential Council is not showing any effective leadership, and we are only worried about what it's gonna be next, like what will happen, like you mentioned, if the capital fail to resist to the gang assault. What if they control the whole capital? We've seen like public institution closing their doors in the capital, and what will happen? Does it mean that this transition that is kind of like Haitian led has failed? What does it imply for Haitian leadership? So many questions. But the thing is that from the very beginning, when people have been asking for like Haitian leadership, there were conditions associated to that. There were plans. So many organizations and civil society came forward with plans, but in reality, what was established was so far from those plans. Even the Transitional Presidential Council, they get into power, and the first thing they did is ignoring the accord that they signed. So there is a real problem right there. And when you take the Multinational Security Mission, we still don't know what the plan is. We know there are guns. We know how large part of the territory they control. But what we do not know is how long it's going to take to fight them. What are the resources we have? What else do we need? We hear a lot of talk about supporting the Haitian National Police, but this Haitian National Police is also infiltrated with so many police officers that are involved in gangs activities too. We know it. We've been talking about it for years. Has there been any vetting of the police? No. Are there incentives given to the police officer? No. If my brother was in the police now, what will he get if he get hurt? Where do they take police officers when they go on the field and something happened to them? What do their family get? Nothing. There is no incentive for the good police officer to fight this. They do not have enough equipment. There is always a problem going on with the equipment. It shows that even if we do not have enough money, even if we do not have enough people, but what are we doing with what we have? How do we make it work? I can understand that we cannot fight the gangs everywhere in the country, but there is not even a sign of a concrete plan to tackle even the smallest gang. Show something, give us a win. There is a huge problem of coordination. It's both on the Haitian actor side. The Presidential Council is a huge disappointment. It's composed of representatives for the biggest political coalition, and they cannot even have one of their members who is involved in corruption resign. What is the willpower of those political actors? Why do they even deserve to be in power? Why will we let you lead if you cannot even have your representative who is involved in a corruption scandal to resign? It's very huge. The problem is very huge and it's very complicated. And we need to acknowledge that what is happening now is the culmination of many issues. The civil society has been weak and is getting weaker and weaker. There has been deliberate effort to dismantle civil society, to weaken them so that other people, other actors, both local and international, who have more power, more control over the country. And what happened now is that we have a civil society that has no influence, no leadership. Same for the political party. We've had the most corrupt people gaining power in the past few years in Haiti. And impunity has been rampant. Nothing has been done. Those people mismanage the Petro-Caribbean Fund, the treasury. There is so much corruption ongoing in Haiti. And you cannot even point to 3 cases where those people went to trial, they went to jail for the corruption. So all of this, like, it's like everything is getting worse at the same time because it's all connected. You have people who are corrupted, who are getting to power. They capture the state for their own benefit. They support gang trafficker. They arm the gang so that they can maintain power. And this is a vicious circle. How do we stop it here? So it's not only a matter of security, as in dismantle the gang, the physical territory they control, their base. It's also about making sure, okay, what we do next. And it's also what kind of leadership we have. And of course, the election question, like
So yes, and I'm going to stop you right there because we are going to come to the election.
Yes.
Because we're going to have that conversation because ultimately that was what the goal was going to be. But I have a question for each of you, and if you can sort of give it to me in kind of like a minute so we can get to a little bit more questions from our audience. And this is a multi-pronged question, and I'll start with you, Ambassador Lopez, and I'll go to Ms. Nelson and then Ms. Derrick and then Emanuela. So, what needs to be done to reestablish law and order, effective democratic government? Why has CARICOM not been more involved? And why are so few Latin American countries willing to help? And then also, what do we need to do to get a peacekeeping operation there? But I think, Ambassador Lopez, you sort of mentioned that already. So, but why are so few Latin American countries involved right now?
1 minute. No, thank you. I guess that what Emanuela said definitely it's important because at the end, what we're experiencing, we're seeing in Haiti doesn't happen in the vacuum. There are so many root causes of this gang violence, social exclusion, poverty, the absence of institutions and corruption that they must be addressed. And this is important because it's not only combating the gangs, strengthening the institutions, but also providing the society safety, but also opportunities. And this is something that we have seen in our own experience. It's not only combating crime decisively, but also to providing opportunities to the society. In terms of why not many countries from Latin America have been involved yet, I guess it also takes time for them to see in what ways they can contribute to Haiti. This is a very complex crisis. And from our end, the president was very clear. We want to help Haiti, but the big question is like how we can help Haiti in these critical moments, but also according to our own capabilities. Because let me be clear, Jacqueline, rebuilding Haiti requires more than restoring this public order. It also demands rebuilding public trust. And this also why justice and accountability are two essential components to break this cycle of impunity that Emanuela was mentioned. And this cycle that also has allowed the levels of violence to persist. And therefore, not only efforts should be done to combating crime, but also to ensure access to justice for all. And in that sense, strengthening institutions in particular those related to the judiciary, police, but also correction system is key to sustain peace. And this means investing in what? Training, infrastructure, and oversight mechanisms, while ensuring also that national authorities are in the driver's seat and reforms are responsive to the needs also of Haitian people. I guess I already passed the 1 minute.
That's fine.
But thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson, I'm going to amend this a little bit with a little bit more context. Folks who have been studying this and have looked at this from the beginning have said this force was built on supply and not demand, meaning that because the money was coming out of INL, it had to be a police force. But do we really need police, or should it have been military? And we saw where that sort of that rubber hit that road in terms of Benin, because I had spoken to Benin about this, and they talked about the fact that you want us to send military to be under policing. We see the challenges that are there. Latin American countries have said we can't afford to give up police officers because we've got our own crime problems. So I just wonder, when you are now looking at this, should there be more military inclusion? And is the current setup one of the reasons why we're not seeing more involvement out of the region?
Yeah. So hindsight is always 2020. And the vision was always to support the Haitian National Police. The Haitian National Police, therefore, it makes sense there that we would have policing support for the Haitian National Police, because it wasn't just critical infrastructure. It was ride-alongs, it was training on the ground, it was a number of different activities that we had envisioned along with the international community and with Kenya, which was one of the countries that stood up early on. And so for us, it made sense for us as a community. It made sense for us to focus really on the police piece. There are roles for the military, and if there's political will, to be perfectly honest, there are ways in which we could get military that wouldn't have to respond directly to the police commander. We would find ways around it. It's just been a challenge, I think, of when and how to give up financial support or security support from their own countries to Haiti. So I think there are paths that could be solved. It is not just because it's led by the police, but it is a major issue. I don't think it was the wrong decision from the start. And there are ways that one can adapt, because, for example, when you have UN peacekeeping operations, there's military and there's police all in the same bucket. They're not actually separate. Sometimes it's just police, sometimes it's just military, but you also have hybrid organizations, institutions. Now, if I may, I just want to reinforce what Egri said, what the Ambassador Lopez said. I would dispute the fact that Latin American countries haven't given a lot of support. They've been very clear about the fact that they do want to support. The Caribbean countries are small and they have very little resources. They've given everything they can. From a larger number, it seems very small, 250 here, 31 there. But from their perspective, such small countries, that's actually a very big number. So I would commend them for everything that they've done. I would actually look perhaps more to Europe, in this case, France in particular, for what they've have chosen not to do. The amount of money that they've put in, even though they are one of the largest funders, the discrepancy is pretty large. I think we're talking around $10 million, maybe $10 to $15 million that they've put into the fund. I think they could do more. I think they have a historical responsibility towards Haiti, and they have not really stood up to that historical responsibility in this particular instance. They also have personal and cultural ties to Haiti, just like the US, just like Canada, and we just haven't seen them very involved. And we understand why. Go ahead.
Let me ask you that. But one of the things that struck me in the last couple of years in our relationship was that in terms of the Haiti crisis, it was always the United States, Canada, and France. And what I saw in the previous administration was there was a lot of heavy focus on Canada, and the French were sort of put aside. And even when I had conversations with the French and asking, why are you not at the table? What is going on? They didn't understand what was going on. But yet you saw France was always very vocal on issues, the La Saline massacre and things, the UN. But I'm wondering if we're seeing now sort of the fruits of that sort of refocusing of the relationship in terms of Haiti. A lot of focus. I mean, Canada was initially pinned to be the one to lead this international mission. So is that? I mean, I wonder if that's.
It was not for lack of asking, Jacqueline, very clearly. So it was a decision that they have made for reasons that they know better than we do, but it was not for lack of asking for support on their side. But then just to close out, what do we need to do to get to UN peacekeeping operations? There's really two blockers here. One is the PRC, who has decided that they do not want to fund this. They have chosen to focus on their budget instead of this humanitarian crisis. For context for others, UN peacekeeping operations are funded by all 192 countries of the UN. China and the United States are the largest funders. We fund 25% of a peacekeeping operation. China funds something between 16 to 18%, just because of the size of their economy. And they have very clearly said several times that they refuse to pay for Haiti. And so they're just playing politics really on a humanitarian crisis. And so I think putting a lot of support or pressure on the Chinese to get us to a peacekeeping operation is important. Recognizing who holds the blame for a lack of a peacekeeping operation in the international community is important. And there's a very important moment right now in April in which we will need to see a resolution to implement this support office that the UN is proposing. And if we can't get the UN Security Council to approve this in April, it will be very hard for us to see a future for the MSS in September or October, because these things are not decided in September or October. They're usually decided 6 months before. So I will finalize with that. That is the most important thing we need to do to get to a UN peacekeeping operation, is get China to agree to do their part in the international community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Derrick, why is it always so difficult to get countries to be involved, even when they say they want to help? I mean, we see in the terms of the CARICOM, there are only 31 more bodies right now, in Haiti, but they hold a deputy position of that mission.
I've been reflecting on what Haiti is going to look like if the apocalypse comes. And I'm going back to what happened in Liberia after the Civil War and what it took to get the country back together. First of all, you have to assess the civil society, which we say is now weak in Haiti. And Esmeralda, that's so disheartening, because civil society is usually the root of a country's, part of the root of a country's responsibility. You've got to look at people's belief in institutions. And again, it seems that Haiti's hard pressed to find people that really can support the judiciary and the legislature and all the foundational institutions. And the economic support. We haven't talked about that a lot, but the economy is also in shambles. So first of all, in terms of the UN and the PRC, also Russia, in terms of the Security Council, has been unwilling to help Haiti. So I'm thinking that one thing's very specific to ask the African Union, which of course has all kinds of good relationships with China, to put some pressure there, and that the AU can also work with CARICOM, because here these two regional bodies, both of them now focusing on diasporas, and they also carry major weight in terms of just their numbers at the UN. Also, what happened in Liberia is you had a massive U.S. support in terms of USAID and a total plan as to how the country was going to be reestablished in, let's say, 5 years. So in terms of Haiti, we can't keep thinking in these 1 or 2 year tranches. We have to be able to think long term, which of course is difficult given the funding situations in which we find ourselves. Also, we need to reinforce the Kenyans in any possible ways that we can. And again, we've got to get also the Kenyan population invested in this. And there have been these, and women are particularly adept at doing this. The Haitian women have been very active in the African Women's Leadership Network, which is a diaspora form across the continent. So to get civil society in other places to see the commonalities with Haiti, to get the AU galvanized in terms of both the UN and their other international fora, and to get others in the diaspora to think about Haiti, to have these kinds of outreach to Haitian citizens, I think is all important.
Thank you very much. I actually was in Liberia in 2006, and it felt like Haiti in 1990.
Mhm.
And I've often asked myself if we've missed that 1990 momentum, because that's what you felt and you saw from people in Liberia, that they were tired and they were ready for change. Mr. Young, yes.
But they also had massive inputs of funding from friends, from just very rich people, individuals who supported the country, and that's what Haiti needs as well, to get its own private sector involved in reestablishing the country.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Young, two questions for you. What needs to be done to reestablish law and order, and can elections take place today in this environment?
All right, I'll start with the second one. Elections cannot take place right now in this environment because there is a problem in terms of mobility, freedom of speech, freedom to organize. And if we organize election now, what we're gonna do is give power officially to people who are affiliated with gang. Anyone who can campaign in gang control territory either has to pay or has the support of the gangs. And it wouldn't be a good thing to do, because if you let those people win election, this means they have legitimate power. We cannot even get rid of people involved in a corruption scandal in a transitional power, let alone like have legitimate, like elected officials. However corrupt they are, it's really hard to get rid of them. So we cannot afford to do that. And we will also, what we will do is like have like people being disenfranchised because they won't be able to vote. Like gangs can decide who vote, which vote center they burn on election day, where violence will happen. They've done it in the past. They know how to control elections with violence and like instability. And what need to happen? So many things. First, we have a transitional council, like heavy nine members. At the beginning, it not that it was the best option to have so many people, but it made sense because since 2019, they have not been able to have a consensus. It was impossible to have just one person representing all those political actors. If like giving each of them a seat was the only thing to get out of this crisis, then let it be. But this didn't work neither. And we have 3 people who are involved in a corruption scandal, and they are really ineffective. We need to find a solution. Those political actors are like obviously the most influential one. They found a temporary solution with CARICOM. I'm thinking they should probably go back, see why it didn't work, and find something else, and find a mechanism to respect whatever engagement they will take. And then we need to have a different approach to the security question. How can gangs organize themselves and be more effective than the police? How did we let it happen? And if the gangs can organize themselves and be this powerful, why can't we have a police force or any other force like we have in our Me Too? Why can't we do the same? Are they smarter than us? Like, how can they mobilize resources to capture like access, like to control access to 90% of the territory? And we are like Haitian, we have the police, we have the army, and we have the support of so many other countries and organizations, and we can't get rid of them? It doesn't make sense. And when you see it this way, you realize that it's a matter of strategy, it's a matter of political will, and we need to do something. For now, everyone is like, the insecurity, the security crisis has a huge impact. People lost their resources, people had to flee the country, the civil society is very fragmented. Same for political actors. We need to think about how do we get people together to have a Haitian-led solution, and how we get international actors to get on the same page and together to find a solution, because this crisis will have impact to the region. What is happening in the region, like the Americas, is affecting it, but it's also having impact in the region. You have Dominican Republic complaining about having too many Haitians fleeing there. Same for the US. And if everyone want to kind of stop talking or having to deal with the Haitian issue, then we need a real engagement, not just superficial. We saw it with the CARICOM accord, the accord they helped find. We didn't have enough, like, I would say there was not enough clauses, if I can say it like this. What do we do? How do we replace people? There was so many room for negotiation, for people to kind of manipulate this, and Haitian politicians are really good at this. Really good at finding loophole to create chaos, to create confusion and instability. We need to be really strict about it. If we're signing something, who is signing it? Who is responsible? What happened? Like, lawyers do that, and I was really surprised when I read the accord they came with after meeting at the CARICOM. I was like, okay, so many of them, let's wish them luck. But when I read it, I'm like, we know they have been violating the constitutions. They have been violating anything they've signed. So we need to be strict about it. Sanction is a good thing. We need more sanction. We need to make sure that the sanctions are not only imposed by other countries, but in Haiti, there is actually follow-up. It doesn't make sense that someone is sanctioned by the US for association with gangs and they are free in Haiti. And in Haiti, they have a clean judiciary case. It doesn't make sense. We need to make sure that it happened too, because it's not only fighting the gangs who are on the street, the people who support them too. And then we can have stability and have election as soon as possible, because we need to have legitimate elected official. We cannot continue with this transition.
Thank you. So we're getting to the end, and we're gonna be wrapping up. Ms. Nelson and Ms. Lopez, two questions for you. There's an apparent paradox, that the U.S. may now be critical of the UN Secretary General for not pushing for a peacekeeping operation in Haiti, whilst, Secretary Rubio does not appear to have even clarified that this is what the U.S. prefers. Do we even know today what the U.S.'s position is in terms of the future of let's not say the future of, but addressing the security crisis in Haiti?
So while we haven't seen what any of us would prefer, which is very clear policy guidance from the new administration, what we have seen is a lot of signals and actions, right? So his first few trips have been to the region, and he has chosen to go to Central America and to the Caribbean. He has raised Haiti within almost all of these visits. He has raised it with Guyana. He's raised it with the DR. He's raised it with Jamaica. So it's clearly top of his mind. He was very clear during his hearing and in opportunities for expressing his views after the hearing, that the mission in Haiti will continue, or at least the policy that we have right now will continue as it is. Obviously, what we would like to see is what will happen, or what will the United States do in terms of funding and maybe other types of support past the fiscal year, past September, which that part we haven't seen yet. I suspect in part because they're waiting to see what happens in April at the UN Security Council, but I don't know this for a fact. And overall, again, even though we haven't heard very clear policy guidance, he has sent a lot of positive signals about why and how he cares about Haiti, and trying to both praise the CARICOM countries and the Caribbean countries that he's met with, and Central American countries, but also get them to do more. So I don't see much change in terms of U.S. policy. I see more continuity. And that's one, because he knows the region, two, because he's from Florida and he knows that there will be significant consequences for his state if there is a collapse in Haiti. And so he does seem to very clearly care about this.
How should we interpret that there was no mention of the Haitian crisis in his editorial in the Miami Herald this weekend?
I wouldn't read too much into it, Jackie. I mean, he has a lot of issues that he needs to deal with. And obviously, being too forward leaning on Haiti might mean that he has to carry the bag and he doesn't want to, right? This is something that overall, and this is from before this administration, there's an interest in sharing the burden here. And so I wouldn't read too much into it.
Ms. Lopez?
Thank you.
Ambassador Lopez, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. I agree with Janina in saying that it will be crucial what is happening in the Security Council just in this month, April. As I already said, there are some options provided by the Secretary General, and it will be up to the members of the Security Council to make the decision about what will be precisely the future of the MSS. And definitely this is crucial. And we, as El Salvador, we are founding members of the United Nations, and we always echo of this sentiment every time that we're able to. We haven't trusted the 15 members of the Security Council to deal and make decisions of peace of security on behalf of the whole international community. So the responsibility definitely is something big, but more not only about security, peace issues. I guess that there are other important matters that we haven't discussed in detail yet, but I guess it's important now that we're talking about the future of Haiti. And definitely one of these is that the UN 2025 Humanitarian Response Plan calls for $900 million. And definitely this is something to bear in mind, because I believe that this is something, as I mentioned at the beginning of my statement, is that this should be a collective responsibility. We have seen how the countries from our hemisphere has stepped up. And thank you also, Janina, for recognizing that maybe the contributions of other countries may not be in numbers very big. As I mentioned also, in El Salvador, it's only 78. But for us, it's very, very significant. And therefore, besides of that, there are other important issues that we haven't discussed. And since this is a panel of only women, I guess that we have also to highlight the concerned situation of women and girls in Haiti. I mean, the reports indicate that they are being coerced into relationship with gang members. Children are also used as lookout, couriers, human shields, even fighters. And according to the SG, there is no meaningful support system in place for those who want to escape from this cycle of violence, as Emanuela was also saying. So it's not only about elections. I know definitely this is something that is very imminent, not only about the financing of the MSS, but also taking into account the difficult situation of the society, especially of women and children. So I just wanted to bring also that to the conversation. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Well, no, thank you. And that's why I was going to segue because we are getting at the end, the last 8 minutes of this discussion. And that's why I wanted to wrap it up. This is Women's History Month. For those who may not be familiar in terms of where we are, more than 1 million people are currently displaced. In the last month, more than 60,000 of them have been forced from their homes, neighborhoods that were previously considered safe. Many individuals have been displaced repeatedly. People have literally lost their homes that are now occupied by gangs. The majority of those who are displaced are women and girls. Last year, there were more than 5,000 sexual violence, rapes, basically, by gangs, majority of them, and girls as young as 9 years old, some of them becoming impregnated. At the same time, the backdrop is that we've seen the freeze in U.S. funding that has affected not just Haiti, which the U.S. is its largest funder, but also the UN. Their funding has also been affected, especially protection programs. So Ms. Derrick, I just wanted to, come to you in terms of this, because yes, we've been focused a lot on the security, but when we look at the situation of women and girls in this is the worst humanitarian crisis, one of the worst humanitarian crises in the region, because we have Venezuela, and also around the globe. What needs to be done? Where should the focus be in terms of these women and girls in the midst of this crisis?
What's happening in Haiti to women and girls is really sad. I think the UN had a report where they say that they bear the brunt of the crisis. It's true. There are, thank God, there are like strong network. There is a strong network of women organization in Haiti. And I think if they get the right support, they can really help address this issue.
Thank you. Ms. Derrick? Yes.
Yes. So I was saying that one of the important things about the Kenyan contingent is this battalion of female soldiers, and these, well, police, but these people are trained in anti-corruption and fighting. But what they do importantly is they talk to women, and women are much more willing to speak to other women in a way that they would not to men. We also need to, when thinking about Haiti long term, first of all, let's not even think about elections for a couple of years until the country has been able to reestablish itself in terms of just civil society and basic services. Also, to retrain these gangs, we talk about DDR, disarmament, demobilization, reconstruction, and reconciliation. The gangs are so critical to what happens, and they also, in that training, can be taught to respect women. As I said before, Haiti needs champions, and if it can get female champions like the Prime Minister of Barbados, like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, like the President of Namibia, then these women, and they've done it before, can really get the UN and other multilateral institutions to focus on the plight of women and what's happening to them particularly. And the UN Women, again, is a good opportunity, and we can all keep pushing for it to be funded as well. So for me, Haiti needs like a strike force that's going to be focused on, again, DDR and reconstruction, but also on the humanitarian issues, as well as retraining of these gangs and such. All of that involving Africa and the diaspora.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson?
I would just say I agree with this is one of the biggest tragedies, really, of Haiti. The numbers of rapes and the use of rape as a tool by the gangs is egregious in Haiti in particular. It is a war zone, as any of we've seen, and focusing on the plight of women is as important as focusing on the larger conversation on security in Haiti.
Thank you. So I want to thank each of you, and I want to thank our audience. And I'm going to close out by giving you each an opportunity to say something that you wanted to address, but I didn't ask that question. And then also just, what needs to be done, or where do we go from here? I think just, we're great at talking about the problems, but if you can offer something, I'm not going to ask you for a solution, but just some sort of a map that maybe for those who are in positions of authorities that they can start to think about. And we'll start with you, Ms. Stelz.
Look, as I said, I think we really just need to keep the fire to the feet of those people who are blocking the possibility of creative solutions to Haiti. This is a very complex challenge, as we've discussed. None of the security options that we're working with are ideal. We would love to see more traditional solutions here, but we just have not been able. The political system has not allowed for it. So ensuring the Secretary General does more on Haiti, ensuring that China does more on Haiti, or at least is not a blocker to the security support mission in Haiti, ensuring that other countries with historical ties to Haiti also step up. All of those things are important as we move forward. Over.
Thank you. Ambassador Lopez.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I guess that's something that I would like to also highlight in the final stage of this discussion is definitely the issue of mis and disinformation. This is also building upon what Emanuela was mentioning about why the gangs have so much power and why or what we can do to counter their influence. And I guess that precisely countering mis and disinformation is critical to restore the confidence in Haitian institutions because the false narratives and disinformation, particularly coming from the gangs and organized crimes organizations, are eroding the trust, are also inciting violence and hindering the work of the humanitarian organizations, and therefore also distorting the political process. So it is important to tackle this issue by strengthening also the digital literacy, ensuring transparent communication from national authorities, but also international partners. In short, I guess definitely that's something that the international community must also address as a priority in order to tackle the situation in Haiti. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Ms. Derrick?
First, Haiti needs a constituency, and I think that we can encourage talks with Canada, the African Union, CARICOM, and that CARICOM and the AU, as I said before, need to use their influence in the Security Council, in the UN, to pressure China and Russia to stop blocking and let us help Haiti. We need to also strengthen ties with civil society, particularly women's groups, because, Emmanuel, I hope that you can find women's groups that are strong and have international ties, and in that way, again, bring Haiti to the forefront of attention. In this environment, with the crises in Ukraine and Israel and around the world, and the financial environment, Haiti is not going to be able to move without broad international support. And these, I think, are a couple of specific ways to get it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Duyon?
Thank you. Thank you for moderating this panel. Thank you to the Wilson Center for the invitation and everyone who's been following. I'll be very brief. I think that a change is possible. First of all, it can be Haitian-led. It can be done with the support of the international partners. We need to empower the people so that they can build change. We need peace, stability, and a return to democratic order. The people need to be able to elect their representative. And if we start small and make sure that we are aiming for the long term and sustainability, we can get it done. Thank you.
I want to thank each of you today for your contributions. They have definitely been enlightening. And I think, yes, this is a very complicated, crisis. It's very heart-wrenching, just heartbreaking. Those of us who have family in Haiti, those of us who, I hear stories of people who, had a recent death and they can't get on a plane, they can't go, not just because the airport is closed, but just because of the security crisis. And so thank you for being involved. And for those of you who have tuned in, thank you about caring about this crisis and wanting to learn more and contributing with your questions. And to the Wilson Center, thank you for always just being interested in keeping the conversation around Haiti going.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.